This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we're good to go.
Okay, we have determined that we have a quorum. So we should stand up and say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, and first up is some old business.
But no, today's July 15th.
Oh, excuse me,
You were
I'm
reading
sorry,
the
I read the
minutes.
minutes. I'm sorry, my bad. So. We need to review the minutes from the previous meeting. Everybody had time to review? Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Now we can move on.
Mr. President, as was indicated in an email prior, our old business item is the school district has asked, Central Noble School has asked if they could defer it to the next meeting, our next meeting in August. I believe it's August 19. And the reason being they've had, outside of their control, difficulty in getting all the quotes together that were promised.
I don't see a problem. Does anybody see a problem in basically continuing this for another month?
No.
You know, or till they can get the sufficient quotes? So I don't see that as a problem. Do we need to make a motion or just?
No, I think we're good. I'll reflect it in the minutes.
Okay. That's fine. Is that all the old business that we need to take care of?
I noticed in the minutes, I don't know if we're gonna touch on this, but you were gonna do some informal online research about bylaws. Is that anything that?
Yes, what I came with is they are not. One person said necessary, one person said, you really don't have to have them in the state of Indiana. So that way you don't tie your hands.
That's what, that would be my concern. We have them, then you're
So
bound to them.
we really don't need them. So
Okay.
that's what I found.
Sounds good to me. That's the only old business that I
Okay.
saw from reviewing our minutes, so.
Yeah, I probably should have sent that all out to you guys when I found it.
You just told us right there.
Okay, well, if that's all the old business, we're gonna step right into new business.
Sounds good, thank you. Approval of the 2027 TIF budget. There's been one development on that front. But what this is, every year, we do the budget request, which involves, I don't know, Carol would know the exact amount, but, something like 20 different funds, let's say. And 3 of them are TIF funds, which this body, the RDC, has, responsibility and control over. And so I did, for your reference within the packet that's handed out, The revised sheet is one page only. It looks like this. It's a spreadsheet with red ink on it and the yellow column. The yellow column is the request, what we're asking for RDC to consider. And the red ink are the line items that are explained in some detail that otherwise wouldn't be there. And those are generally the requests by different departments for equipment or vehicle, or, we can go through the list once we get into the nuts and bolts. And then I'm trying to think, just by way of introduction, we had adopted, if you recall, in early this year in 2026, what we referred to as, it was the 2025 TIF management reports, and at that same time as one document, the 26 to 27 TIF spending plan. And so we had adopted that on March 18. That was, I gave the sheet so you know what it was that we did. And there's actually two sheets, or there's several sheets. One is a generic, the dollar amounts that were approved by RDC. And these are, you can consider them conceptual because it went out to the year 2040 in some cases, as long as our TIF districts last. TIF 1 goes to 2040, TIF 2 to 2032, TIF 3 to 2041. So a lot of this was, it's hypothetical, but we had to have numbers in place for purpose of the plan, and that's what that served as. What tonight's purpose will serve is more of the specific brass tacks. Here's what we think we would like to spend TIF dollars on. And as I said, most of these requests came from department directors, and we can go through this. And then the only other thing regarding the 25 TIF management report and the 26, 27 TIF spending plan that we adopted in March, there's a few detailed sheets on it. But again, it's just taking the whole number, which in the case of TIF 1, it was like a little over $500,000. TIF 2, same thing, little over $500,000. And then it lists about half a dozen line items that we thought would comprise those figures. And again, very conceptual. We kind of wanted to cover bases, if you will. What's before us tonight would be what you would actually, in fact, approve, and then it would go to the town council for their approval as well. That would then be presented to the state, and that ultimately would be potentially allowed to be spent for these different projects. And then, Carol, did you want to add anything by way of explanation, by way of intro to the topic? Did that kind of cover the basics?
I guess so. Does anyone have questions at this point?
I got one question, okay, and it's probably directed to Steve. I see in your yellow, there's no TIF money for sidewalks or ADA.
Right. That's correct. And the reason being, the department directors didn't ask for that. They had it from other town sources that those items would be asked for.
Okay, because I know in like TIF 2 and even TIF 1, there's some sidewalks that are in grave need of repair.
Yes, and they were done in other years, as you can see from the history.
Yeah, that's why, I seen that empty slot.
And actually, I apologize, it looks like my column, I cut off the heading of what those columns represent. But they were prior years.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was wondering what they were.
Yeah, it was on the original sheet, and then I reduced it down to one, the sheet that we're focusing on, the 3 TIF districts. But I eliminated those headings, sorry about that. And actually, I could tell you what they are right now. It goes from year 21 all the way across to year 27, which is the yellow. So 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, yeah. So the blank column, next to the blank column on the right would be year 26. 27 is the column in yellow. And then it begins with year 21. So it's the history.
Not a big deal, but I'm curious why the facade grant is on the detail here at 75 instead of 70.
Yeah,
Tip one.
yeah.
We didn't have, did we have?
Reason being arithmetic. I figured 5 projects at 15,000. The 15 is the
Okay.
max. But yeah, it's all, again, that's very conceptual. We've never had that many, maybe in the initial years, in 1 year, but obviously not since.
But in the attempt to kind of make that budget, as you're mentioning, you forecast, right? And say we at least could have that kind of fund earmarked for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just getting an understanding on that.
And so maybe if you wouldn't mind, I'll suggest, would you like me to run down we'll focus on I guess all the numbers? Does that help? Or do you just want to go by Q&A? Okay, so starting in the upper right, bonds, 500, same as before last year. Attorney fees, we reduced in half, down to 15K, same way with professional services. The next category, bond payment, went up a little, 19,000 is what's scheduled. For the principal and the interest is similar, 12,000 and change. Infrastructure, we're just asking the fire annex building, which, and this should be pointed out, it's 75 from each TIF. And the reason it's in this 27 budget, in case it doesn't happen this year. It's already been approved, but there's some speculation because Bob ran into all kinds of delays with a previous architect or engineer, and now he's changed that, and now it's moving along. But it still could be a tall order to get done this year, in which case, boom, it would be available next year. Then moving along, as Mike said, there's no sidewalk shown here. We compensated for that on the city side of on the town side of the budget. Building facade grant, 75, just thinking in the worst or best case scenario, you would say 5 projects at the maximum would equal that amount. And then facility improvements, this is all town hall related, 300,000. 200, if you recall, the RDC had pledged up to $500,000. So we did 250 from TIF 1, 250 from TIF 2. And then you hadn't heard about the painting. That came into play through the street department mentioning it. So we added 50,000 to do the outside of this whole complex. And that's the figure there of 300. Moving down, park buildings. This is the 250 Diamond Discovery Zone playground that you've approved. And it's all coming out of TIF 1 because that's where it's located. Economic development, we kept the same amount, 100,000. Equipment, police radios, 20,000 is the only item asked for there. Vehicles, same thing, a police squad car at 20, and I should say from each TIF district. It's really a 40,000 cost split 2 ways between the 2 TIFs. And so the total of that is 900,000 and change out of TIF 1. Last year was 853,000. TIF 2, attorney fees, same thing, we kept the same at 15, professional at 15. The school project is denoted here under the same rationale as the fire annex, that it could happen this year, but it might not. In which case, we would budget for it in this setting for next year at 125, all out of TIF 2. And this is the amount, as you recall, the school is asking to change from the original daycare to the different campus type projects that they'll give us more detail on at the next meeting. Infrastructure, again, it's half of the fire complex, the annex buildings, 150, half of that is 75. And then economic development, 100,000. Police radios, half of the 40K is 20. So each TIF paying for half. And then same squad car, 40,000 squad car, split 2 ways, that's 20. And finally, again, half of the roof and painting would be 300,000. And then that totals 670,000 out of TIF 2, about 100,000 more than last year. And TIF 3 kind of requires an explanation. We had put it in the hypothetical spending plan at $1 million each year, $1 million plus. You know, we're pulling numbers out of the air, just thinking, what if we have a major housing development? What if we got to invest in infrastructure? What if we wanted to sort of think about that? So it was there as a placeholder, but we can see that we don't think it would happen next year. You'll probably be readdressing this in the year 2028 if we're successful with a housing development. So the only expense because there's no money anyways, is the attorney fees of about $3,500. And that comprises the request out of TIF for this 2027 town budget.
I appreciate the extra detail there. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Brady. And by the way, I kind of gave you a bit of a resource document that you can kind of refer to in the future. There were like 6 pages of the different funds, the 7 funds that I was responsible for budgeting. I kind of gave an explanation of each fund. They're mostly city-related funds, they're town-related funds, but 3 of them, of course, were the TIF district. So there's a bit of it's a reference document for future, if we ever want to see what's eligible. And it gives you an idea as well as to where the town funds sit in these rather large funds. Not all of them, but a couple of them are rather large that do help fund infrastructure projects from time to time, vehicles and equipment. So I think just to bring it full circle, I think there was a point last year, maybe Lori asked the question, maybe the whole group did, what could the town afford?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the future, we can really ask that, especially as TIF funds, become, let's say, constricted or that if we're feeling tightness with the TIF budget, before authorizing something, it's a legitimate question. How much can the town afford of this request? And then decisions can be made a little more transparently.
Well, this is really helpful. Informative.
And I think I'm going to ask a question, Carol, if you don't mind, just so that we're all on the same page here with process. So what I've explained, and I want to make sure it's accurate for the group tonight, is that this, if they approve this or whatever they approve, will go to the town council. Carol will enter it to the state information called Gateway, their computerized version of things. And then it ultimately goes to the council at some point. But my question is, by way of understanding all of us, though RDC, whatever they approve tonight, and then this will be inputted by Carol to the state, and then ultimately the council has to say yes or no or revise it. But let's say the council adopts it entirely, just like RDC approves it. That, what I'm trying to ask is, those expenditures, specific expenditures, would they still come back before RDC by way of needing to approve?
If they haven't already been approved, usually they'll get like a preliminary approval for like this daycare, the daycare, they kind of gave the okay for that, but then they were supposed to come back with like some hard figures, like once somebody actually bids something out, and then we know for sure the dollar amount. At least I like to have that, so that the RDC has specifically approved and it's documented in minutes that they've approved a particular
Specific.
project. And a lot of times in the past, they've done a resolution with certain things to allocate funds towards it. Another thing that I wanted to point out is, like you mentioned, like the facade grants, 75,000 is quite a bit. But if you had something else come up, say there was a sidewalk project that you wanted to do, we could transfer funds from.
If we've already
that.
approved the budget, it's in the budget. You
Yes,
can-
we just can't
Line item
spend
transfer.
more
right.
than what is appropriated. You don't have to
And
spend
back
all
to
that.
your point, Steve, of like keeping us in the loop or even a sense of approval for that expenditure, even though it's in the budget. That, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was setting last year at the end where we did purchase a new Dodge Durango for the police department. But now in the 27 budget, we're allocating to keep the vehicle fleet fresh, another vehicle. But they would come to us again to make that request, not just because it's in the budget, they get it.
Right,
Okay, good.
right.
Well, and I would ask the same question on the $100,000 painting of this building. That
Yeah.
was the
Right.
first to hear about tonight, so
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like
Wanna-
a good change.
that's a chunk of change.
Yeah.
It's good to know that the money can be changed in the budget if it's in the budget.
And if that's the kind of thing it costs that, and we are in favor of something, if there's money that can be moved around to help, if it doesn't cover 100,000, just for a scenario, that we have that flexibility. We're just looking to improve this budget and get it approved.
Yeah.
You never know when the time comes to spend the money, if something they want, a pump, a truck, a Vector, whatever, what's the price today? Because it's not what it was yesterday,
You know that one, yeah.
you know.
So good point, Mike, and the needs could change even, like where something could take precedence over, over a squad car or who knows what.
Street sweeper, Vector, dump truck,
And so
whatever,
the corollary of what Carol said our process is, from a town standpoint, like when the town approves its budget and the departments kind of have categories of, they think we're going to get $100,000, Vector truck or this or that. They still have to go through the process of, might involve Public Works Committee, usually kind of approving, yeah, go for bid. Yeah, this, we'll approve they will recommend the low bid. Then that goes to council. So there's still like these steps before the money
Right.
is,
Just like
goes out the
Lori,
door.
like Lori said, a lot of this, I didn't know until you provided this, because the department heads put it in a capital improvement plan, and then you went over that with them, and then, budgeted in here, but like even I didn't know about a lot of this until I read this, and so to me, it's okay to, get it in to appropriate for it, but when it comes to actually a department head getting ready to solicit quotes, to me, they need to, like if they're gonna use
Get
TIF
approval.
money, they need to get approval. They need to get approval from the council that, hey, and it shouldn't be a surprise to them, because they should get a copy of the capital improvement plan. And I mean, they will have this as well when we go through the actual adoption of the budget, but yeah, they need to actually approve like award to a certain contractor if it's a street project.
And sometimes, especially, when there are a lot of projects in one year, things get shuffled around for one reason or another. Maybe maybe we decide, well, we don't want to bid it in the spring. We'll bid it toward the end of the summer. You might strategically say when you want to bid it to try to get the best price or the best schedule of, participation level. Who knows? So it really will go through more rungs of approval, if you will. And so that happens on the town level, but also, I think we're recognizing, we're saying informally, if it's not a written policy, it's kind of the informal policy and intent that the money's appropriated, because it's, these monies are basically saying, here, we're putting these in the possible pot of expenditure approved, by the state, by the town, and by the RDC. And then to spend it though, there's some rigmarole involved. There's going to be some further scrutiny. Really to the degree that RDC wants to exercise, as it is with the council and public works committee, to the degree they want to exercise scrutiny, it happens. Where,
I think it's more of just a friendlier word of like checks and balances rather than maybe the scrutiny. We'll give it here, not you guys. Not to say you're wrong in that, but just we can then communicate clearly what we're doing with those funds to the public, to the council, and be
Yes.
above board with
And-
transparency.
and you might actually have good insight too, to kind of affect how the process is going to happen and the timing. So yeah, that's a great thought.
So I have a question.
Go for it.
We know Sandy Petrie came and she's trying to figure out how to do what they need to do at the library, so I'm not
Oh.
sure where that would fall in here, but
Good
would it
point,
behoove
Lori.
us to have a budget line somewhere or make sure we've got funds?
That's a good point, and because it's not considered,
It's not in
and
here.
it's kind of, maybe that's an oversight.
The 100,000 under economic development on each of the two TIF funds is always there, but we rarely spend it, so that 100,000 is in both of those, but not knowing what she's thinking about, I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that.
It's a good point, but without her update on like even a dollar amount of what she's after, it's hard to maybe.
I mean, I think there's a little slush in there because of that.
Yeah, because of the-
100,000, but.
Yeah.
The other comment I have, and I know I've already submitted my resignation, so this goes beyond my term, but
Okay.
I feel like in this process, as a stewarding these funds, like we have the opportunity to budget for things that this body wants to see done. So right now, we're getting all the requests of the town,
Right.
we have not talked about, you kind of started to say something about sidewalks as an example.
Well,
Like, are there things that we want to proactively do with the funds that maybe the town's not gonna come to us and ask us for?
well, we are the RDC,
Right.
we're in development
Yeah.
commission, and I know there's, TIF funds that I don't want to say this wrong or negative, but they're being used for maintenance items. And we are trying to look into housing out somewhere in this town for some development projects, but when it comes time for those development projects, I don't want to put the town in debt for it, because I don't think that's a good thing to do. But I would like to see some type of redevelopment stuff going on. I don't know what you guys are thinking, please open your mouth.
Well, Boyd makes a good point, and I've really not done a bunch of homework thinking of my top 10 projects either, but the point's well taken to say if we're trying to steward a direction also in partnership with the council, what do we have in mind? I agree, housing is definitely, like Mike said, big.
It is.
But we've kind of set back and understood where we can and where we can't spend money. I've been educated on that a little bit, especially me, my first year. And we're almost in a role of helping. I think we can help with housing, but it's more of a, what do you need from us, rather than us maybe driving, we have funds, how do we proactively get on it? Yeah. And
I chatted with Scott Cole briefly at the block party. and I was thinking about it from a starting perspective, but I think it's a redevelopment sort of opportunity too for this body, is to replace that sound system uptown. That thing serves our community very well when it comes to quality of life and getting people to come to the square and having events. And there's a lot of things that the STAR team has kind of scrubbed, not a lot. There's a couple things the STAR team has kind of scrubbed because don't have the infrastructure in the way of PA announcements and managing it.
And that was new back when they did the courthouse square decades.
When did they
And he
do
said
that
he's working
courthouse?
on it. He's
Yeah.
looking for other funding opportunities, but I'm like, well, maybe that's just
In
something.
2006.
Yeah,
2006.
almost, I was gonna say a decade.
20 years.
It's 2
Yeah, it did.
decades.
It was when the,
Wow.
and he said the underground cabling conduit's all there, so it's easy.
Yeah, it's
Relatively
more of
easy
the
to
equipment,
replace.
not
It's
that
just the
type of
equipment.
infrastructure
New
underneath.
speakers.
Yeah.
Scott, though, recently was given authorization, if I recall, by the council to
To get quotes.
get quotes.
Okay.
And that's what he told me too. My point is, because I had offered just as a citizen to help him write grants. I'm like, if I can help you as a grant writer, like, I want to see that get done regardless of what role I'm in. But again, I think that's something that could be seen as an economic development thing. It was in Kendallville when they did their streetscape and
Yeah.
their whole downtown
Mhm.
redevelopment. It was, I think there was TIF funds involved in that. But anyway, things like that come into my mind.
Oh, yeah. Well, things also too, is I know you've been on the board long enough, Brian was sitting on the board. We talked about going uptown as a group,
And never did it.
and we have TIF funds that are available for
What we want to
facade
do.
improvements. What do we want to see done? Maybe we can encourage somebody.
Yeah.
To do a little more.
And the STAR team did a little bit of that. We reached out to a property owner and said, we'll provide labor if you'll give us permission to do some things. And that was a positive conversation, but our problem is it would be more likely to get done if we just hired somebody to do it. Because when you're trying to wrangle volunteers,
That's tough.
it's very tough.
That's tough.
But the desire was there for a beautification project.
Good.
So I think those things are opportunities.
I would still be on board to consider that opportunity to walk around at a meeting some night
Eyeball and
and
brainstorm a little
do
bit.
that. Maybe as the fall comes in, the weather's a little cooler, but.
Right. I don't want to go out today, sorry.
The other thing I'll
But I
mention on
think,
that,
I think it would be great.
yeah, the other thing I'll mention on that front is, our facade grant, it is what it is in policy. But we have the authority, the ability to change that policy. If we identified 3 or 4 things and the property owners didn't have the money to do their 50%, we could change it to
Waive-
whatever
waive
percent it
some of
needs to
that.
be to make it
Yeah.
happen. So
Yeah.
I
That's
just think
good.
there's a lot of opportunities to explore.
Well, and to tag on to that point, especially when you have a program that it isn't really that utilized.
Mhm.
And we did make changes to try to
Yeah.
encourage more
Yeah.
facade and less roof and that kind of thing, but
That's
I mean,
right.
we could go further if we felt there was a need for it,
Yeah.
to get some things done.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting there is. I think a walk around would be informative.
That might actually help us drive that prior conversation you had about what do we see as a need as the RDC? And that made me, as you were mentioning some of that, I thought, well, besides ourselves, is there a survey of some kind of people that see certain needs or not-for-profits that are seeing needs that maybe TIF funds could be used for? I mean, I don't want to have this, take a number and there's 25 people at a meeting going, well, we need 500 for this, and would you give us 1,000 for that? But I wonder, just in the brainstorming part, if there's a moment where, the town itself is kind of surveyed of, what do you see as needs? And I think some of that's been done in the decades we've all lived here. Most of it's online now with a quick survey. Rate these projects in order, that kind of thing. But that helps foster some ownership and community with people too when we do that.
I would say might be really good to survey our industrial park occupants too, because this money can be reinvested in the industrial park.
Mhm.
for their benefit too. So
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything they're needing that's not addressed, but. might be
But
worth
just
an
that
ask.
they have a voice back to us and know that we're also listening to them is important.
Yep.
Good relationship.
Mhm.
And, you know, you could use some of that economic development money to fund a group to do the surveying and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You know, even, and/or even Melanie's group or some,
Mhm.
Under our professional service umbrella, perhaps.
yeah.
Ideas, I don't know that any of those affect the budget either.
No, but they're all great ideas.
No,
I mean, the one, if we had a dollar amount to help out the library, would affect the budget, but we just don't right now. It's like throwing a dart, and we don't know where the target's at. But
Right.
we'll have that flexibility to help in some way when Sandy gets back, to let us know.
Did you want to transfer before we actually set the budget, any money to go back into infrastructure? Infrastructure is cut way down from prior years. You know, I'm thinking
Oh,
along
yeah,
the
it is.
housing line. That one's down to 75,000 from 385,000 this year. And then in prior years, what we actually spent out was quite a bit. The lowest was 91,000 in 2021. And then we actually spent 328,000 in 2023. I mean, you know, we can always transfer money around in there, but that one just was one that stuck out to me as being really, it decreased significantly from prior years, especially based on the past expenditures.
so did, equipment for various departments.
Yes,
That was what, 140,000,
yeah.
And we spent, well,
150, 175, 10,000 in, what, 22. And now we're back to 20. So, I mean, evidently we must have good equipment.
And it would also be one of those things that like where we're having a lot of discussion about housing now. So it makes us look at infrastructure, maybe we should go up. Where there was a year that we knew equipment in various departments, they had a big purchase coming. So we said, hey, let's make sure that line item is higher. So that, you know, it's justifiable, so to speak. And then at this point, there's not as much on our radar, so that's why the 20K budget.
I think in 2025, that 182,000 could be wrong. But I was thinking that was for the Vector truck. A portion was for that. Because you could see, we would have had to transfer because we spent out 182, but we only, our certified budget was 150.
Yeah.
So we would have had to transfer from somewhere else to get to that 182.
And that, we mentioned transfer and certify amounts. That's more of a dot the i's, cross the t's bookkeeping thing than it is somebody going, well, wait a minute, you had 20 allocated and you're wanting 140. How in the world can you do that? We do have the ability to do that with the moving within the
Yes.
funds if the budget is approved. It's just sometimes we know more than we do at budget time to kind of earmark a
Yes,
higher
and go
dollar
ahead,
amount.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, you're right away.
I'm just relabeling my columns.
Okay.
No, so whatever you feel the direction,
You know,
you'd like.
um, am I to assume, and I'm looking at the totals for what, this year? 2026 is at 853,000, and then the 2027 is 901.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, the totals look to me, okay, it's within reason. They're just spread out different. Is that a right way to put it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was looking at too, although you know that there's not probably gonna be any slush from the playground, parks playground equipment at 250.
Mhm.
We're probably not gonna wiggle out of the 300,000 for the town for the building. So those are not gonna be movable probably, right? Half of it, over half of it.
And you're looking at, what, 670 versus 570 in tip two, so. Boy, there needs to be some money in three.
Have to do a pork burger fundraiser for that one if we can, huh?
I have some big ones.
Maybe the attorney fees, we need that one. What are you raising money for?
I guess if the department heads didn't ask for any more equipment, then
Then they don't need it.
you're gonna say no if you don't have the funds, you know? I think I'm good with it, the way it's presented. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
would you like a motion to approve
I think we need one of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 TIF fund requests for the 2027 budget as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What else is on the list?
That's it as far as printed agenda.
Laura, you mentioned something about the library. Was that a recent development or?
You said the last meeting she attended, or was
It
it the
was
one before
one
that?
or two ago.
It was the one before that. She was really just here, I think, you know, they obviously have never-ending needs and their budgets have been just trash. So,
Their chiller
They're
was
in-home.
having issues, their AC.
They got an new system for it, from what I understand.
But I mean, you know, they've lost their tax funding, right, with the SEA one. So I think she just wanted to learn what TIP is and what's available, what can't be used. I did follow up with her after that because I saw her at another meeting and she was really felt much more informed about it and she's still wrapping her head around it, so. She didn't really elaborate on any initial thoughts. It was just a learning exercise. I did send her a bunch of stuff that Kurt had shared with us, just resource materials, so. And then I know she attended the new task force that Brian Scherer called in Ligonier.
The must mean.
Did somebody from Albion go to that?
I went
You
to
went to
that.
that? Was Sandy there?
I don't remember seeing her,
I thought she maybe would
which
be. 'cause
surprised
She was
me.
probably invited because I saw libraries in the
Yes.
presentation.
And they're supposed to be, I got a survey monkey for, you know, like pick what date would work best. They're trying to set up like the next meeting, but I haven't heard back. There is I just got it today, a webinar that AIM and Baker Tilly are doing to inform people on the changes and the must meetings. I can forward that to you guys if you're interested. You could register for it. I mean, it's not, it doesn't directly have anything to do with TIF funds, but if lit revenue, the local income tax, if a lot of people are gonna see that decreasing, then there may be more demand from people for TIF funds. I'll make a note to send that to you guys.
An article in today's paper about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I didn't read it, I just saw sharing President of County Council, his picture. Doug Hart.
That webinar, I believe, is next Monday. And usually when AIM provides a webinar, if you register for it, but you're not able to attend the live event, most of the time they send a recording. And then I hope they didn't specifically say that in this email, so I wasn't sure, but normally they do. So if you miss it, you can go back and see the recording.
Anything else? Very good in the community? Stay cool. Okay. Well, I'm looking for a motion.
Oh, I would motion to adjourn our meeting.
I hear a second.
I would say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
He's just waiting on that guy.
Thank you, everybody. Good job.
You get your gavel moment on the record too. Don't record it.
Turn up the recorder.
With authority.